as we are joined by our good friend, Jamie McLennan with TSN, who
he's not in Boston. Look at this.
He's not in Boston.
Super fancy living room again.
He's not in Alberta, but he does, like all of us, has some angst today.
I have angst. It's not good. It's not good.
Are you gripping? What's going on, Noodles?
So I had to fly to Edmonton for a business meeting on Tuesday morning. So I flew in late Monday night. Obviously, there was that plane crash.
Right. That's always
I'm done flying. We literally flew out like 5 hours after it, which was kind of weird. The whole, and I land yesterday at a 6 a.m. flight. And I fly like 140 times a year, like literally.
Jeez.
I park in the exact same spot every time. I get down there, car's gone.
Lifted, those bastards.
Yeah. And they're
good at it too. I've heard the cops, there's a cop on my team. He goes, these guys are unbelievable. It's picked up, it's gone.
Were you driving Rhett's Honda from the early 90s? Because you could just start it without a key.
Yeah, it had you had a screwdriver for a starter, right?
That's right.
But it was my wife's car. So she was driving mine because mine's better. The Tesla's better in snow than the Range Rover. And so that was it. So,
wow.
Yeah, not good.
And so your face goes.
Well, I'm at first you're like, why is there a car like a red Mustang parked in the spot that I parked in? You're like, okay. And then anyways, it didn't go, so you go in and you're talking to the police are unbelievable, but they're like, oh yeah, this happens all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's not a good, you're not building confidence here anyway. So it's been, as you can imagine, it happens. It happens all in
happens a lot at old Lester B. Pearson, I heard.
What's that?
I heard it happens a lot out in the.
Yeah, I apparently it does because there was not a, there was 3 officers behind the glass there. None of them had a surprise face on. None of them were like, "Oh my God, what do we do?" Like it was like, okay, yeah. Like
today.
And the frustrating part, I called my wife and she goes, "Well, maybe you parked in a different spot." I go, "Yeah, that was right away." You're just like. Okay, click. Like I'm not even going to deal with that conversation. It's not even like, hey, lost service. You just hang that phone up because you're not going to. And then I go to the officer. He's like, "Are you sure you're parked in that spot?" I go, "You know my wife?" I said, "She could do that too."
Just talking.
So he kind of chuckled, but we had to verify that it left on the day before when I wasn't there. So anyways, it was, I've been in one for a day, but it's fine.
I can tell you what's almost as bad, because you got to deal with this long term, is getting the phone call at like midnight. Someone had landed and vehicle's gone. Kev.
Yeah.
Stolen. Oh man. Can you come get me? Sure. I'll come get you.
So what are
2 levels lower?
Oh, so then they just didn't park. Thing is I know where I park. Like that's the thing. I don't need to take a picture of it. Like I travel that often.
That's the spot.
I go down very low where nobody parks, and then I park in that area in a wheelhouse of about 5 spots. I know that area because there's a stairs that goes right up. All you have to do is walk 4 flights of stairs. Big deal. So I park in the same spot all the time.
Yeah.
But that was the question from everybody. It's like, well, maybe you parked in a different spot. I'm like, well, maybe, or maybe it got stolen. And I said, it's the latter because I'm not a moron. I know exactly where I park every time.
So the person I picked up is a moron.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't travel that much, I understand. But the thing is if you talk to people who travel a lot, they're habitual. Like they do the same thing all the time. I'm a habitual person. I do the same thing all the time because that way you don't have to figure it out. If I'm in a different country, a different area code, then yeah, okay, where's my car? Not, the airport that's 15 minutes away from my house. So it is what it is. You know what? Like,
Valet that shit, man. You're real lots.
That's the Canada we live in, but it happens in the U.S. It happens everywhere. It happens all over this world.
It's
right
a big problem, not Sarah. There's a massive rash of that occurring, and it's not at the same level at all here. Like people have their keys in boxes out there so that the cars can't get. Like it's wild.
Well, didn't Ford say if you could just leave your keys right by your front door?
Well, and
because
Mitch
if people
Marner
break
got
into your house,
carjacked on the 401 when he was driving.
Actually, Trudeau came out and actually said that they had like a thing saying like, just, if people are, having these breaking and entering at night, just leave your keys at the front step or front door because that's what they want.
Yeah, they only want
or maybe you could clamp down on crime. That might help too.
Sounds pretty hard.
Anyways, I'm not going to get into the political debate. We're talking about hockey, and let's have some positive thoughts here. What are we dealing with?
That sounds great, Noodles. Big game tonight. Are you excited?
I am, and I honestly, I might be in the mind. Like I have to fully admit, I thought this tournament was a joke, and I think I told you guys this. I was like, it's not best on best because Draisaitl and Vasilevsky and all these guys are not playing. So I was bullish on that. I thought it was going to be a glorified all-star game where guys are, I'm not going to really block shots. I'm not going to go the second effort. Saturday night blew my mind. I think it blew the hockey world's mind. You're like, these guys are playing for keeps. That was really cool to watch, especially when fighting is not prevalent. And I'm not waving the fighting flag. What I am waving is the compete flag. And I was really impressed with that. So I've been wrong on every front when it comes to this tournament. I will say this. I think Canada wins tonight. And there's a couple different factors. The reason being is it's tough in these small tournaments to beat the same team twice. It really is. Like you see, the rematch, teams adjust. Team USA's banged up more than Canada. You look at McAvoy, which it has to be a separate conversation. This Don Sweeney's pissed because I don't know what it sounds like. This is my interpretation. It sounds like the doctors shot up his shoulder or something and that got infected. I don't know what went down.
There, done that. No good. Sucks.
And he got hurt in the Finland game, which was on Thursday ahead of the Canada game. So they let him play, shot him up, then it gets infected.
Yeah.
And the team releasing the press release is a big thing because it wasn't Team USA saying he's done. It was the Bruins basically saying these guys screwed it up.
Yeah. And they're pissed about it because which is weird because I believe the Minnesota Wild doctors are the doctors for two. That's Doc Burns. He's unbelievable. I had him in Minnesota. He's unbelievable. But, from a management standpoint, Don Sweeney's on the Canadian side. Mm-hmm. Like, I wonder if they decided before the tournament, like, you're not talking to your players on other teams type of thing. I don't know don't you think Don Sweeney would be part of like, hey, your players getting shot up or how your players having this procedure done before the game? Like maybe he wasn't aware of it just based on he's not talking to anybody not in his country. I don't know.
Or he might just be pissed because something like that, getting shot up is not the oddest of things to happen.
It happens all the time.
Right. And so all of a sudden it turns into something and it's like, well, honestly, I did it. And Daryl, it was before the season started. We were flying to Minnesota and Daryl basically told the trainers and the doctors, if he can't play, you're all fired. Well, I played it up right till game time. Oh, I'm dying, Mo. I don't know if I can go.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. That's not an elimination game. It's a round robin game they made that decision for. You could have given Charlie McAvoy a week.
Yeah, but you don't know what it is.
No, sure. I just mean so in a tournament game that is not win or lose, you've already collected 3 points, you're top of the table. Rather than figure out how serious it is and what the timeline is, it's just shoot them up and now it's infected. Like I can see why they're pissed.
Well, I think about this. Let's remove our Four Nations hat right now. Think of the business of the NHL. So the Jacobs family is going, we're trying to make a play. They're in one. They're out of the playoff picture, but right there, right? If they end up missing the playoffs by 2 points and McAvoy's not available to them for a month, like that's playoff gate out of their pocket. You look at it, we're all focused on the Four Nations, which rightfully so. But come Saturday at 1:00, you're back to your club team and it's game on for a sprint to the playoffs. And you've got Shea Theodore's got the broken wrist. So it's like, okay, Vegas is in one. Like they're trying to, win the Pacific. They're trying to compete. McAvoy, Boston's in one.
Chuck and Matthews are both going to be
Chuck brothers, like Brady. They're trying to make the playoffs for the first time and whatever. If Brady's not 100% and he's got to take a week, like there's serious ramifications. And you have to think the NHL has knocked it out of the park here on one level. Because you watch that NBA debacle on the weekend, like there was a mascot playing in the celebrity game.
Loved it. I loved it. The hockey game was so intense, and the whole sport world was talking about it. And the NBA All-Star bullshit was going on. It was
I turned it on, and there was like some pop singer like just chopping it up. Like they were giving him free shots. He couldn't make it. And then all of a sudden there's like a mascot that looked like Wile E. Coyote, like checking him. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? You turn the channel and like the Kachuk brothers are fighting. Like it was just, it couldn't have been worse timing for the NBA and the NHL as far as converse, but it's good for hockey. But that being said, now you've got potential injuries and who knows what's going to happen tonight. Because guys might be laying it on the line. You've got GMs that are probably just sitting there going, please, not my guy, and I don't know if Austin Matthews is at 100%. It sounded like Mike Sullivan kind of slipped the other day. It was like, yeah, McAvoy and Matthews aren't going to play some upper body. And then the insiders out here in Toronto are like, oh, no, they're just resting. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on with Matthews, but he says he's playing. If he re-aggravates what's been going on with him this year, like the Leafs could be in one down the stretch. So it's to me, this Four Nations is amazing, but come tomorrow when the club team business hat goes back on, you're going to have some teams that are going to have some angst.
Olympics next year, bigger tournament, more teams, more players involved. It's the necessary evil if you want to do best on best. You want to grow the game, which this clearly is done because people are talking about hockey that haven't been.
Yeah, it just, I got to be honest. I am fired up for tonight. Like it's just, we'll see how it goes. I don't care about the anthems and stuff like that. I just want to see the hockey. Like I just, I've always felt, and maybe I'm in the minority about this, is just I've always felt like sports have been an escape, and now what's happened is now there's crossover because of the temperature of the world. And to me, I'm like, I
said, I think Gary Bettman is brilliant. He puts this on. He gets in front of Trump. He has Trump threaten Canada with tariffs and taking over the whole damn. I think it was brilliant. Yeah. Like I know we don't want to mix
play best on best
sports,
for a decade.
But this is amazing stuff by Gary.
It's great theater, but I want to watch hockey. Like that's the thing. I want to watch intense hockey, and this was that was amazing hockey the other night. Like amazing hockey. And I just feel, getting back to the actual hockey, this might be a McDavid night. This might be where it's like, okay, I feel like right now, if you had an MVP, it's Crosby. I feel like Crosby's just shown up
for the Canadians.
What's that?
For the whole tournament or the Canadians? Well,
for the Canadians, I feel like Crosby. That's one of the best empty net goals I've ever seen, where it's like, I've had enough. He came off that bench as like, enough with this nonsense. I'm going to run Granlund and then bury it in the empty net, and we're not messing with them getting close to a tie. And it was just like a statement kind of leadership thing. But I feel like tonight could be a platform for where 97 goes, it's my turn to kind of on the big stage, grab it. Because, in Game 7 last year, McDavid was neutralized. Yeah, he had, like Florida was just all over him. There was no time and space. He had one chance with about, 5 minutes left in the third, and that backdoor kind of play, he was jamming away. Other than that, like Florida smothered him, and he didn't have much in the tank in that Game 7. To me, somebody's got a platform game where it's like, okay, let's see what you got here. We already know what McKinnon's done on the big stage. Sid's done it and all that. Binnington's won a Game 7 on the road in that building. Let's see if he can do it again. Obviously, goaltending is the front and center because he's allowed at least one bad goal a game. But they've made it there, and that's all you can ask for.
Give us more on the goalies, because you could argue this is the best in the world against maybe the worst starter in the tournament.
Well, I mean, Kevin Lankinen,
Saros you'd take ahead of him, wouldn't you?
What's that?
You'd take Saros ahead of Binnington, wouldn't you?
I would, just based on talent, not based on this season. Like Saros just, against who was that? Against the U.S., in the third period, he came out with no pads on. Like it was 2-1. And all of a sudden it was like 5-1. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like it was just, they fell apart, but he fell apart. And I didn't see that coming. But you're right. I think Binnington, it's weird. He's kind of built for this. He's got that swagger. You remember the comments in 2019 where he's like, do I look nervous? All of that type of stuff. Like, yeah, all he has to do is not lose them the game tonight. He's got to make the saves that he should. I think Canada, if they lose 2-1, that's not on him. That's on, them not getting enough goals, and maybe Hellebuck stands on his head on the other side. But he can't have a Gensel goal. That Gensel goal was a back-breaking goal at that moment of the game.
Yep.
McDavid goes end to end. They've had the fights. The building's roof was coming off. And then you give up that Gensel goal, and all the air came out of the building.
And that was a 2-1 game, Noodles. Like, they don't get that bad goal. You're up 1-0. The Americans can't just be content to flip it out to neutral ice the rest of the night.
Exactly.
Like, these are low-scoring games. The last time these two countries played each other prior to Saturday was a 1-0 game in Sochi. Carey Price was in net. There's a huge step back from that here.
Yeah, so you're right. Like, he cannot have the Lindell goal, the Gensel goal, the Adrian Kempe goal. Those are straight shots that are beating him. You can argue other goals, but I'm just saying one goal per game I can circle and go, can't have that tonight. So if he doesn't have one of those goals, I think Canada's got a really good chance. You get a banged up American team. You got adjustments. I think John Cooper putting Braden Point with McDavid was brilliant. Marner, his pace is just different than McDavid. Marner's more, methodical, and Point's a speedster. I do believe that they miss Hyman. Like I feel like Hyman would have been a guy that worked well there as far as getting the puck. But Mark Stone, he's the ugliest skater in the tournament, but he gets it done. He's such I love the guy. He's just it's an unmade bed watching him, but he gets it done. And so I think the Canadian adjustments have been pretty good.
The whole thing comes down to, and we saw it on Saturday, and I've said this a number of times, is that the players clearly care.
Yes.
If they were just, let's play for our country, that sort of thing. I didn't anticipate there being this type of pride. And even Brandon Hagel the other day, that wasn't for the cameras. That was for the flag. These kids, they're all in, and we're right from the drop. And I wondered, going into the tournament, because I was with you, I'm like, I don't know, what is this thing? What will it be? And all the players were saying the right things. And I almost wondered if that was a Bettman thing. It's like, let's
lip service,
bump it up. Let's all be positive about it, and let's share a good message and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there was, right from the start of game one, there's been no doubt what this means to these players.
Which is very cool, because I didn't see that coming. I'm sorry. Maybe I was in the minority. I just was like, I was so down on this tournament. I feel bad, because I actually for about a month just bagged on it, because I kept saying on our show, they'd be like, well, best on best. I'm like, no, not best on best. Sorry, Draisaitl.
You got to forget about Draisaitl. Germany's no good at hockey. They're not going to be a top 8 team at the Olympics. The Olympics are best on best. You got to drop the Draisaitl.
Well, I mean,
okay, what? So go Russia, down right? Like, Russia's a thing, but even you look at the last 10 big international tournaments, Russia's got nothing.
Well,
it was silver in Nagano. That's
you could do a Russia team right now that would compete with these other.
Tell me
teams.
about their centers. Okay. Like it's aging Malkin, it's Barbashev. It's like they're not good down the middle. It's like they're a 3rd or 4th place team in this tournament.
Depends.
I don't know. One game
anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I still take Vasilevsky out of all of them, but that's just me.
You could take 4 of those guys. Yeah, like the goalie's not the problem in Russia.
But I just, like I say, you got Kucherov, who could be he won the Hart last year, not playing. That's not best on best. You need if you're going to go best players in the world, there's probably 4 or 5 missing from this tournament.
I just find that so silly, because like we watch the Ryder Cup and you're like, this is one of the greatest sport events, and it's the Europeans against the Americans, and you get all this passion and fan bases and guys showing emotions, and the care levels through the roof. Not one person goes to Ryder Cup. Yeah, there's no Australians here.
Are Australians good at golf?
Yeah, I mean, Jason Day would be a world number one. Like, it's just
he's not number one.
At one point of his career, was. My point being is that like no one was ever like, man, this Ryder Cup. If you had more players, no, like it's great as it is. Let this rivalry happen between Canada and USA.
So
they're the top two hockey nations on earth.
An ass, and he actually apologizing because he said I was poo-pooing it. I didn't think it was good.
Yeah, and
it is.
As I'm down, what you're doing is kicking me in the nuts as you walk by.
I've had to deal with this for 6 months. I was the lone guy that thought this was going to be good.
Do you want us to bow to your?
No, I
you're right.
I didn't get it.
I was wrong.
No Draisaitl cares. Germans are good.
Yeah, you're good looking. I'm not good looking. You were right. I was wrong. You're a good person. We're all terrible.
But I
want to stop. When's it enough? I
guess my point being is I was down on it, and I've loved it. And I think it's been a magical success, which I just didn't see coming. But the pride in the players and maybe just playing a unique tournament, just playing for your country, to me that something went on for those guys when they walked through the door and saw the flag on their jersey. And I loved Hagel's comments. It's an indirect shot at Tkachuk going, we don't need this for the camera. We don't need group chats. And Tkachuk coming back. I guess they don't like each other. Like, to me, there is some animosity, but there already was. Like, guys hate Matthew Tkachuk. Hagel's had to play against
Florida, Tampa.
They're Tampa, Florida. Like, I love that stuff, and I think it's great. But it's also shone a light on some guys who are a little bit shy, haven't been really effective 5-on-5. And you're like, okay, where was Jack Hughes been pretty quiet? Like you're
Marner.
Looking at, Marner, yes, 5-on-5. Yes, he had the overtime goal, but that's a 3-on-3 situation. Like, so you're, conversely, you can pull a lot of positives from it. And then now you start to look at it from the lens of like individual going, okay, that guy really hasn't been visible. That guy hasn't. But in a one-game scenario, somebody could be a hero tonight. And let's see who it is.
I love that it has opened eyes for, and I mean, I can't imagine there's a bunch of chatter about this in Sweden or Germany or over in Europe anywhere.
Right.
But in North America, it has reestablished Canada the sport.
Yes.
As a big deal, in my opinion.
I think in Sweden and Finland, that's just like here. It's the first time in a decade you've seen your best players on one team, so they would be jacked. But more if you're in the final for sure.
It's just cool because what it is for me is a prelude. So we're probably going to run a segment Friday or Monday going, are you on the team or not? You're already picking the Olympic team next year, based on some of the guys that played in this tournament. Like Brandon Hagel has done a lot for his stock just from the outside. Tampa knows how good they have in a player. But I don't think everybody in Canada, a Canucks fan sitting in Vancouver who hasn't watched Tampa play that much goes, man, that Hagel's a bastard to play against. And he's skilled. Oh, by the way, the guy gets 30-some goals a year and 75 points last year. Like you realize, and he's hard to play against. Some of these guys, their stock has risen just in our minds from watching them in this tournament. I think that's what's really cool too.
Thomas Harley on that team. That's a good one for the segment.
God,
save that one.
I thought he was great.
I thought he played really well. You get dragged up, you get dragged into the situation. You either, you sink or swim. Mm-hmm. He's a good skater. He handles the puck well. He didn't look out of place. To me, there's guys that, you got to understand too, international hockey is a lot different than this. And this is also NHL format too, right? So you get the international hockey, ice is different and all that. So you have to build a team for international hockey as opposed to this Four Nations. So that's where you start to think, okay, is this guy a skater? It's going to be less physical. You're not going to see fights because I think you get kicked out of a game, right? So the thought process, you're not just going to grab that team and go, that team's winning gold. You're going, this team, won the Four Nations, whether it's US or Canada. And now how does that adapt to international hockey?
Who's reffing? Because international refs are horseshit.
Well, yeah, you've got some guy with a camera on his head and he's floating around out there going, hey, watch that stick. Or, a stick gets close to somebody, they blow it down. I've always liked NHL refs, for the most part, a lot of them have a decent feel for the game. The argument comes back to if it's a penalty, call a penalty, whether it's game 7 or a Tuesday night in November. I still think you need a feel for the game. There was a penalty called after those fights, right? Was there
one each?
Yeah, one each. Like, you pretty much you gotta do something egregious out there to get a call, but I don't mind that. Just let them play, let them decide the game. Unless it's something stupid, then you got to call it.
So popcorn, Cove, bar, what do you, I'm having a frickin' party. I went from, this is a stupid tournament to I'm having people over. I'm going to put my jersey on. I'm ready to go.
Really?
Jumping in the lake. He's all set up.
Saturday night, I went and met my good friend Mike Dick, Moby, the Marlies. And we, a few drinks and ended up going out and to a pub. And, Moby coaches the Toronto Marlies. Yeah. So AHL and he's a beauty anyway. So we went, but tonight I had planned to meet with a buddy tonight and he just had to bail. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just take it in on my couch. I'm not sure. Like it was supposed to be more of a scheduled like dinner, drinks, watching in a bar. And now I might just do it at home here. So we'll see. But I'm pretty fired up.
Deke took his kid to Montreal for the Saturday games.
Wow.
Nice
he's
move.
got deep pockets, though.
He's
got deep pockets and
wealthy.
You got somebody with some money. You fly into Montreal, you buy a ticket there, whatever it takes. And you know what? It would be very cool to take your child and have an experience like that. Do a father-son, do a father-daughter, anything. I did have an opportunity to go to this game, even through the network and that, but I just, at the end of the day, it'd be nice to sit and watch it and just be a fan instead of have to, break it down after the game type of thing.
You're worried about your car at Pearson. I feel you.
Yeah,
exactly. I'll be taking a rickshaw. Down to Pearson. Be a guy running down the highway. I'll be, sitting behind him, or I might take over the rickshaw. I did that once at Cowboys years ago. It wasn't good.
All those injuries you brought up, concerning for teams getting in. I think Matthews should go sit on IR and the Leafs should use the cap space, but whatever. The biggest injury announced probably over the course of the last 10 days is Demko. What the F is going on?
It's the weirdest thing. I think last year, everything that could have gone right for Vancouver went right. They just, everything fell into place. They just mowed along, Tocchet was coach of the year type of thing, all of that, right? This year, everything that could go wrong has kind of just snowballed, but they're still in a playoff spot. That's the crazy thing. I think they would be best served to treat Thatcher Demko like a bonus. If he's available to us, that's a bonus. But because I love him as a goaltender, you guys know, but can you rely on him? Like the guy now, that's the third injury this year because he started the season with the behind the knee, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So he started late. Then he came back and he fell, I believe, on his tailbone or something, right? And then came out. And then he left against the Leafs. And Lankinen came in and won that game 2-1. So I don't know if he's re-aggravated. I don't know if whatever it is. But if you're Rick Tocchet, I almost feel like he has to say to the trainers, just let me know when he can play. I can't build my daily plan around it because you get your hopes up. And Lankinen's played very well for them. He has not been the problem. If anything, he could arguably be their MVP as far as a guy that you did not expect on your bingo card to be a starter for them. So I don't know what they do. You've had the Miller-Pettersson circus, and they trade Miller. Pettersson has a terrible tournament. Like, I don't know, like that, if anything, I felt like he could use this tournament to springboard. And, he played 9 minutes his last game there.
And earned the 9 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if he goes back to Vancouver and somehow gets it on the rails, then they've got a bunch of what ifs. Yeah. What if Pettersson could going? What if Demko could get going? I mean, Hughes is a question mark, but he's going to play. And if Hughes drags them into the playoffs like he has been right now, that's MVP caliber for me. That's Hart nominations, because that has been an absolute circus out there. So there's lots of pressure on Pettersson. There's lots of pressure on that group to get it done, even though there's been so many things that have been going on. I don't know how you feel about it. I look at that Vancouver team, and it's been almost like a Netflix special this year.
I would pay less attention to it if the Flames weren't the ones trying to track them down now. Like, that's where you look at it, you go, oh, Demko's out. Was that a chance for the Flames because they were playing good?
They are. There's 100% chance for the Flames to be right there. Although I did not like the way that they, Lieutenant Dan rolled into the break. It was ridiculous. Like, they just packed it in that last game. Were they up like 2-0 or 2-0 with 10 less than 7 or 8 minutes left?
Gross.
Like, that was, they
first 2-goal lead they've blown all year too.
Well, that's the thing, that their heads were in Cabos and Lucas, where that last 10 minutes of the period there, and you pissed away at least 1 point, but 2 for, maybe 2, but 1 for sure, because you got to get that to overtime. You get 1. I don't know. They got to find a way to hit the ground running and have that resurgence. I don't think Connie's done either. I think Connie might be, continuing trying to reshuffle some players and maybe add to it.
Well, if Piggy would get his fingers out of the pie here and just let Connie cook a little bit. Like, I know Iggy's in there yelling at him, giving him shit all the time. Just stop it, Jerome. Stop it.
I spent the weekend with Jerome last weekend. He was very good. He loves the team, loves everything. I mean, Iggy's Iggy. What I love about management teams, and Iggy will never, talk state secrets. He's, that, and I wouldn't expect him to. Like, that's the thing. Like, there are lines now in our friendships regarding business and pleasure. But what I love about management teams, especially Connie and Iggy, they're two different voices. Oh, yeah. So what they were like when we played with them. They would argue about the color of this can. Like, those two,
it's like the show.
You have deciphering. So to me, the best management groups are people that don't see the world the same way.
Yeah.
You get a management group. Do you remember Edmonton for 10 years? It was the boys on the bus. It was Lowe and Pendergrass and McTavish, and they all were the same, same thought the same way. So they were in on the same players and going, we got to have this. Like, to me, you want differing opinions in the room. And then ultimately Connie makes the decision, because that's, he's got to take that to ownership. I love that. I think that's what's important for any type of management group, is having differing opinions so that it pulls you out of your comfort zone and you think outside the box. So I think the Flames management group has done a really good job, and Connie's, the head of that, and you can call them brains of it, because he's been there for 10 years. Like, he knows exactly what this organization and where he wants to take it and what he believes it needs. So I thought he's done an unbelievable job.
Do you have any kind of a sense of confidence about getting your vehicle back, or what's the?
So I had this anti-theft system independent called like Tag or something. They put these like trackers in it. They hide them or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I talked to the guy this morning, and he was like Dog the Pound bounty hunter. Like, he's like, we know where it is. We're 30 minutes out. We got 2 cars heading there. And I was like,
camera on this guy.
And I don't know. Like, I said to him, like, was there a chance? And he goes, well, we can't go in there. He gave me an example. He goes, we found one yesterday that had been taken, and it was in a storage container already. And he said, what we do is we go sit there, we call the police go in or whatever. But he goes, also, these people, they know where they are, they can find, and they disconnect them and they throw them somewhere. So he goes, we could be going to a ditch. We never know.
You're going to a dumpster. I got bad news. They've done this before.
Yeah. But he said, like, he was fired up. Like, I'm talking to him on the phone, but I could envision a guy, like a burly guy with a beard and maybe like a ponytail or something. And he's like, I'm going. And I said, is this like an episode of Dog the Bounty Hunter? He goes, that's exactly it. Like he was jacked.
Yes.
Like, we're on our way, 30 minutes out. We've already deployed a car. So they're an independent security company, right? I was like, all right. He's like, we'll keep you posted. I'm like, okay, but they can't interact. Apparently they just like find it and then do whatever. So I don't know. I mean, my level of confidence, 50%.
Wow, that seems high. Jeez. Good luck.
I should. And the officers I talked to, they were kind of leaning more towards 0%.
Yes.
So
they've seen this more than you.
You're a glass half full guy, Noodles. We love you. So positive.
I just, you know what I'm thankful for? You see all these, like, that it wasn't my family in it. And somebody, you know, these carjackings and stuff like that. Like, that's scary to me.
And you didn't have any like Slayer cassettes or anything cherished in that vehicle, would you?
Not really. I mean, it's my wife, so I don't know what was like. I don't think
a little lip gloss.
Yeah.
You know what? I was laughing. I said, yeah, there was 8 clubs, eight bags of golf bags or what. I don't even know what the golf bags. And there was 4 computers and there was all this stuff in the trunk. No, there was nothing. I mean, I'm not like that. You know, you joke around about it. It is serious business, but I'm at a point now where it's like, there's nothing you can do. If it shows up, it shows up. If it doesn't, then, you know, you move on and you get a station wagon with wood siding so nobody steals it.
Nobody's borrowing that.
That's right.
Unless you leave the keys in it like Rhett with the screwdriver and you just say, go ahead. So,
enjoy the game tonight. You're calling Canada. Is that what I heard?
I am calling Canada, but, you know, as Pinder will point out, I've been wrong about everything. So I'm hoping that I'm not.
This whole tournament, Jamie. That's
it's not that you're wrong. It's that he's right about everything.
Yeah.
And he deserves flowers for that. You got to give him his flowers.
I get no flowers here. That's why I have to do that.
Pizza today.
Beaten over the head for 6 months about being right.
Yeah.
Well, you are right. And in this instance, you deserve all the credit for it. All right.
Thanks, Noodles.
All right, guys.
Thanks, pal. There you go. Noodles.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.